Welcome to the training of Gazitele F5 software. You can exit by clicking Exit on the File menu. When you click nearby the File menu, two options appear. When you click Connect, it starts connection with LPG ECU. When you click Disconnect, it stops communication. By checking the Settings menu, you can choose Language, Measure Units, to change the parameters, and Zoom in, Zoom out. There is also Help menu near Settings. When you click Help, you can check the manuals to help you and to check the version number. On the left side of the software below, you can check if it is connected to the ECU. Nearby, you can see registered file name. There is also firmware configuration number here. On the right side below, there is the fuel type. Vehicle configuration. When you click this menu, you enter the start page with the parameters. On the left side, you see some necessary configurations. You can choose the fuel to use and also choose injector type when you click Injectors button. Here there is revolution signal type. If you connect the RPM signal, which is brown color on the wiring harness, please click that box to get the signal from RPM wire. If you didn't connect that cable, you can get the RPM signal from the injector signal. And so, please not click the button here. Here there is ignition type. You can choose the ignition type if it is one coil, two coil, or the RPM sensor. The important thing is that you should match the ignition type of the car and the LPG ECU. On the right side, you can see injection type, sequential, MJ sequential, and full group. Under the injection type, there is reducer pressure. When calibrating the vehicle, you need to check the reducer pressure and right here. Finally, here there is the number of cylinders. If the vehicle is turbo, you can click here. There is also valvetronic option when the car is working on idle. If the manifold pressure is close to 1 bar, that shows us the car has no vacuum. If it is so, you can choose that one. In some BMW, Peugeot cars, there is such function. If the vehicle has start-stop function, you can click here. There is also multi-air function, which is existing on cars like Fiat 500 series. If you are not getting RPM signal from coil or petrol injector, you can get it from camshaft. Most of the time you don't need that function. Here there is the changeover type. When the car switches from petrol to gas, you can choose if you want it to be done when the car is accelerating or decelerating. You need to write here which RPM you want to change over. So you don't need to use overlapping time function. If you are sure your calibration is perfectly done, you can start with gas if the engine is warm up. If the temperature is over 60 centigrade degrees, you can start on gas. The changeover temperature must be minimum 30 centigrade degrees. If you want below temperature, you can write here. For lower temperatures, if you want to the vehicle switch from gas to petrol, you can click here. Here there is number of injectors between cylinder changeover. If you change here, that increases the time of changeover. There is also reset ECU function on the right side, which is like default button. When we click the lambda function, first you will check number of banks. Due to the vehicle, you will decide this function. You can activate the lambda function by choosing the voltage. There are various voltage depending on the lambda type. We have sensors menu here. That is the choose level sensor type. If you like to warm up injectors, you can click here. You can choose type of pressure sensor on the right side. On the right side there is temperature sensor. Mostly we use 4K7. If you use different type, you can change it from here. There is a function to open gas valve in advance. We don't recommend you to change that. Under that function there is time and the pressure amount when changing from gas to petrol. These are factory settings we don't recommend to change. We have a manual calibration map here. These are RPMs. These are petrol injection times. You can increase or decrease these numbers depending on petrol injection times. If you click map, reset button, it will change back to factory settings. If you want to change map reference, you can click here. A new window will appear on the right side. There are injection times, and the left side there are RPM times to change. You can read the slow and fast trims here. In gas and petrol menu, the first function is sequential full changeover. So the changeover will be sequential when you click here. Anticipate injection sequence function is used in cars like Toyota Valvetronic. If you click here, it will allow the injectors work in advance. There is operate at idle function, which allow us to use petrol in idling. Opposite, you can allow petrol flow in higher RPMs if there is power loss. Cut off petrol. There is also split fuel function, and there is the value for RPM for split fuel activation. In which RPM do you need to use this function? You are entering this RPM value here, and do it to calculation. There is gas pressure and the value, it is for the gas mixture. This value is with reducer pressure and plus manifold pressure. With this calculation, under this line, you can enter the mixture rate to here. Cutoff petrol switchback transition allows us adding more fuel based on gas and manifold pressure over the declared RPM parameter. In modify carburation, the first function is OBD connection type. Due to OBD connection protocol of the car, you will decide to change auto or ISO or KUP and CAN bus. To activate OBD connection type, you should click Adaptivity box. In type of petrol trimmers menu, if the petrol injection times are correct, you can choose standard. Lean carburation with positive trimmers. If it is not, you can choose inverted function. It means lean carburation with negative trimmers. In some cars with extra injection sensitivity, you can close this function. You can use this function after checking the injection times of the car. Enrichment in acceleration function is used in some group injection cars to reduce the fuel when accelerating. We have a special function for Mazda cars here if there reach mixture problem after calibration. In adjustment menu, there are gas and reducer temperature corrections. It allows retuning the fuel mixture depending on increasing temperature of engine and gas. Auto calibration function allows us to calibrate turbo engines and mostly 6 and 8 cylinder engines on the road. In order to use this function, first you should run the vehicle on idling on petrol and then half and full load conditions. After that, you should switch to gas and repeat the same on gas. After that, we should repeat that 2 more times on petrol and gas. In display menu, you can see all the parameters of the system. There is a scope function on the top. That function allows us to save all the parameters and specs. In addition to that, we have a diagnosis menu here. You can see the error codes on the top when there are errors with the system. After repairing the problem area, you can erase the errors from here. Otherwise, the car would not switch to gas. You can watch the total mileage on gas and petrol, though there is a function to check each injectors. can also close each petrol injectors. You can close each gas injectors one by one. With the auto calibration function, you can auto calibrate the vehicle by pressing start button. When starting auto calibration, the car must be running on petrol. Then the system will ask you to push gas and increase RPM up to 2500. You should wait some time on 2500 RPM. Then the system will switch to gas and the auto calibration on gas will start. You should keep the RPM 2500 stable during the auto calibration. After 2 to 5 minutes, the auto calibration will finish. After you finish all the calibration, you can save the calibration file of the car. You can save your configuration. You should write your file's name. For example, it is Mazda and the number is just it is example, and then you will click to OK to save the file. The other function is load configuration. Load configuration allows you to find one of the previous calibration file that you saved before. You can load the previous saved file to the ECU from here. You can also send this file by email. You can update the firmware of the ECU by clicking ECU programming. That allows to use new specs and the functions. You need to stop the engine when using this function not to harm LPG ECU. Lastly, you can exit from here. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.